We talked about adoption for years before we finally went all in on it. But then when we made the commitment, we saw the yes, we started seeing all the bills that were part of it, how expensive it was. And Tiffany looked at me and said, Mark, if we can buy a minivan, we can afford to adopt. Once we said yes and we started talking to the church about it, we started sharing with the community, that was when the grace of God really began to unfold. We pretty much decided we were going to go for anything other than like neurological issues, because that was something that just scared us. And I was just beginning to feel anxious, and it wasn't like there were angels bursting through the heavens or anything, but I found that sense of peace. And that was what I was praying for. It's like, God, I'm not asking for a sign. I want to know that I'm in your will. No kidding. Almost as soon as that prayer time was over, we got a call from our social worker. And she said, we were just sitting in this meeting and we brought a new orphanage into our partnership. We were going through the files and I saw this little girl, and when I saw her, I thought of you. And the one issue is that she basically has all the special needs that you said you didn't want to take. And so it was a Friday, we took the file, we looked at it, we figured we'll take the weekend, and then come Monday morning, if she's still available, we proceed. And so we let our social worker know on Monday morning, and sure enough, that little child was still available. But what was really amazing was once we were matched with Mia, it was just like the floodgates of heaven opened up on us. She had hydrocephalus. The doctors believe she was probably born prematurely, probably did not have proper prenatal care. When she was born, she was abandoned at a hospital. And the way the Chinese translates into the English, we don't know if she was found at a dumpster or in a dumpster. We've heard both. She was developmentally delayed. Some of that was the orphanage, some of that was hydrocephalus. But once we got her home, we began to see some of those little bits of personality come out in her, because she could light up a room. She had this way of just wrapping anybody around her finger. That child, because she had very little when she was in China, she loved clothes. Most of the time when you saw her, you see pictures of her even still today, you'll notice she's wearing layers. She was always wanting to wear 2 or 3 shirts and several pairs of socks. That was just the way that she seemed to approach the world. She had such energy and creativity, but she just had such this ingenious way that she looked at the world and the way that she brought people into it. She was in the 1st grade at Cartersville Primary School, and so I was doing what I did every day. Got up and went to go get her out of her bed and feed her breakfast and get her dressed. And I went in there, went in her room, and she had her hands folded up under her chin, and walked over to her bed, and I sat on the side of the bed and I started rubbing her, and I noticed she wasn't responding. I went to roll her over and I noticed that she was stiff. And so I started just screaming for Tiffany to come. She called 911 and they told me to start doing CPR. It's the hardest thing I've ever done. The first responders arrived, and they worked on her house for 30 minutes, and we couldn't get any information. They weren't sharing anything with us, and we just, at that point, we knew. And people oftentimes ask questions, if you knew then what you know now, would you have done it? And the answer is always yes. I mean, it's hard, hurts, but the answer is always yes. Because we got to see her live. And that's the thing, we got to see her live. When we first got her in China, she was this shy, timid, terrified little child. And by the time that her life was coming to its climax, and as she was deteriorating over those last 8 or 9 months, her story was already changing the world. I mean, her story was already inspiring people to look at ways that they can get involved and that they can be a part of taking up that cause of the fatherless. And as a result of her story, the Mia's Fund to help other children who are in situations like hers to experience the joy and the trust and the warmth and the hope of family, even if it's for a short period of time, it's worth it. There may be some shadows, like in the valley of death, but you can't have a shadow without the light. And so I keep looking to that light. I hold on to my memories of Mia. That's because I know that story and that legacy. It is and it will continue to bring light and life and hope for children and for parents and for forever families, so that they can be families forever.